Afternoon coffee has been one of my family traditions from my earliest memories. For me, it began with my Scandinavian grandparents. By 3 o'clock, Grandma had the coffee perked and a homemade cake or pie on the table. People gathered around in her kitchen, as if drawn by some invisible magnet or the rich smell of her coffee. Afternoon coffee might be served in the kitchen, or the living room, or even outdoors under the old pine trees. Sunday afternoons were special. After church, Grandma always expected her old friends to visit, or family from hours away. Children were welcome. In Scandinavian fashion, we were given our own cups of coffee. Children mostly listened and ate as the grown-ups chatted away. Of course, the reason behind afternoon coffee was the coffee and Grandma's marvelous cakes, but that was only part of the ritual. Conversation filled the air. Talk was of ordinary things: the iris in full bloom, the dry weather, the price of eggs. Finally, it wound around to the old familiar stories that I so loved hearing. Stories were related in random order. One story brought to mind another, and another, and another. Conversation danced over the generations, skipping from the present day back into centuries passed by. Joining the grown-ups for coffee over so many years, I heard a smorgasbord of tales. I became familiar with eccentric and interesting characters, although I never met many of them. Although they had passed away many years before, they might as well have been sitting right there with us. They were invited into our coffee circle by the speaking of their names. A remembrance of their lives was knitted into the experience of ours. Throughout my adult life, afternoon coffee continued to be a regular ritual. I was fortunate to live next door to my own mother as my children came along and grew. Mom would join us, or we'd enjoy a visit in her cluttered kitchen. In the summer, coffee came out on a tray, where it was served on rickety tables under the shade of her ancient maple tree. We shared the stories of previous generations, mostly based in fact, and new stories were woven in, as tales of our own children added to the family folklore. I count afternoon coffee as a treasure in my life. Those gatherings created an intimacy of family and made heritage an important part of my own life. While sitting around the kitchen table, I learned so much of my family history, with all its quirks and unique characters, and it seems that now I have become the keeper of the family photos and the reteller of family tales. My mom is now 91 years old and in a nursing home 2 hours away. I do travel regularly to have afternoon coffee with her. Some days she can't be awakened at all, but even in her slumbers she will sip from a coffee cup if I hold it to her lips. Several weeks ago she enjoyed a piece of homemade apple pie and commented, "It's so good." I can no longer share afternoon coffee with Mom as often as I would wish, but her presence is surely nearby as I set out my cups, as my own family wanders in around 3, as the fresh coffee is poured and the thread of conversation picked up. and I suspect that wherever else her mind may wander, in her mind's eye it is now 3 o'clock. She's sitting around the kitchen table with a host of dear relatives and old friends. And I'm thankful that I have a setting reserved in that afternoon coffee circle.